Hi, Benji here. Today I'm going to give you some stretches to open up your hips and your legs. Oftentimes people struggle with some of the most fundamental exercises like squats due to tight muscles in the legs and especially the hips. The hips, they're a heavily muscled area that when tight, of course, is going to prohibit you from those movements as well as possibly cause lower back pain. The hip flexors, as they're tight, the lower back will tighten. So the movement of the hips. You've got flexion, you've got extension, you have abduction, adduction, you have external rotation, and then internal rotation. Okay, so we're going to cover all of those. First, we're going to start in a standing forward bend. Now, make sure you warm up first. You can do these stretches after you have finished your workout or you've warmed up through mobility work, everything, and heated up the body, and the muscles are nice and warm and ready to stretch. But even then, if you tend to be tense, make sure you go with the straight back first, bent leg second. You can even use a yoga block if you need, so that you bring the floor up closer to you. Otherwise, if you don't have a block, really bend the knees, straighten the back. Then as you warm up, then you can straighten the legs more. Then from there, you want to walk your upper body out over one side, straighten the other leg so you get your hip, let it loosen up. For time's sake, of course, I'm only going to do one side. Be sure to do both sides. And then, to a little bit deeper in the back of the leg, cross the legs. Kind of that old stretch, hamstring stretch we do in gym class. Then next, make sure you have a cushion or something for your knee. You're going to bring your knee up close to the wall. And depending on how tight you are in the front and the quad area here, the knee may have to be away from the wall a little bit. Otherwise, bring the knee all up against the wall, bring the front leg forward, line up your hips, pull the top part of the butt toward the heels, and then from there, you press your hips back toward the wall, and then have your hips right beside your heel, and your heel pressing in toward your hips. And then, of course, as you loosen up, take your lower back, press it up against the wall. Now that, once that loosens up, shift your weight forward, and then bring the front leg straight. You get a little bit deeper in your hamstring. And make sure you really push into the front foot like you're pushing into a wall. And make sure that your big toe and your pinky toe are pulled back evenly. So you stretch the whole back of the leg. Sometimes people will kind of sickle their foot. Next, now begin to shift your front hip forward as if you're going to place it on your front heel. And then from there, if it feels okay, you can grab your back foot and pull it in toward you. Now really reach for the back of the body from the front of the back leg. And you have a little mini split here, so the legs are driving away from each other. Just kind of hang out there. Let it loosen up. Then once that's loosened up, kind of check in with your body. And of course, go for the best splits that you have. You can use blocks so you can support yourself, whatever height you need, okay? Make sure your back leg is turned under. And really push into the front leg. Push it forward. Just let it loosen up. Try to get the shoulders over the hips. So that way, gravity will just use your body just to pull straight down. Excellent. Gently come out of that. Next we have transverse lunges. So you'll go with a wider stance and really push the inner thighs away from one another. Really straighten out the leg and press it out like you're gonna, as if you're trying to press it away from the out of the hip. Dropping the hamstring toward the calf. And then of course do the other side. Once you've done the second side, you'll bring it down for a straddle stretch. So open up both legs. Really push the legs away from each other. Now if you have a hard time sitting upright without your back rounding, elevate your butt. So set on some sort of riser. Just get yourself higher so you get your back straight. Make sure all the way up on your sits bones. And push your legs apart, rotate your legs open, use your hands to press yourself up. Once you're there, if it feels okay, then you can come forward. Keep the legs rotated open, the legs pushing away from each other. And begin to walk the upper body over. And of course, assist your legs in when you're done. And we're going to come to standing. This next stretch is going to look a little unorthodox. I'll have to start away from you first. Start with the feet wide. Then you're going to twist around, so a full 180. And now I'm kind of doing a reverse straddle, a straddle stretch. So I'm pushing the legs apart, as if I'm going to take this part of my legs and touch them to the floor. And then of course spin fully around, do the other side. And once you've done that, come back down to a seated position. Then we're going to go to a number 4 stretch. So you're going to take one leg, cross it, and then you're going to press yourself forward. And make sure you have your bent leg, this one externally rotated, but you're kind of fanning out your hip. And you're taking your shoulders toward your lower leg. And then of course, make sure you do the other side. Once you've done the other side, bring your bottom leg in, so you have an external rotation here. Cross the other leg over. Make sure your hips are square, so you're sitting upright. Both sits bones are plugged into the floor. So if you're sitting hiked up like this, and you go to rotate, that's no good for your lower back. So make sure you straighten the bottom leg if you need to. Just set up tall and twist. And then of course the other side. And then last thing, you're going to bring one leg back in a hero's pose. So the leg is going to come right up along beside you. You take your thumb and kind of knead and pull and make room. Pull your calf out, make room. Straighten out your hips and set your butt down right beside your foot, pressing your heel up against your hip. Then bring in your other leg, bend it in, make sure you bend it, kind of set up here. You may feel a different stretch in here. Let that settle in. If you want, you can even twist this way. And then bring up the leg, pull it in into a half lotus. Making sure the knee is facing forward. Setting up nice and tall. Then of course you can play, go to a little forward bend if you want. But making sure you should not feel knee pain. Make sure you're really bending your knee. You externally rotate from the hip, but you kind of pull the lower leg in with a slight internal rotation. That'll help with that. So give that a try. You should find that your whole lower body, your hips, and the rest of your lower body will open up, making squats and a lot of other exercises easier. And you might also find the added benefit if you're struggling with lower back tension, lower back pain, that's going to loosen up your hip flexors, which in return will loosen up your lower back. Have fun with it and let me know how it goes. Thanks, bye.